best entertainment on the earth. Tune in for Comics with Perch.
Hey everybody, this is Perch, and the ongoing saga of the labor dispute at Image Comics continues. So I'm getting ahead of myself, so let's back up a minute. So the Comic Book Workers United Union made some noise last year, and we covered on this channel, and there was a number of different opinions on it, and there was certainly some broad Twitter support, and there was certainly a lot of skeptics about what was going on with the union. The union was relatively small. There was a lot of attempts by both the union and by the different comic professionals that supported it, and certainly by the news to kind of, not, I don't want to say hide, but suppress the fact that it was a dozen people roughly, and then it got smaller as time went on. But regardless, the union asked to be recognized. Image Comics did not. This was kind of portrayed as an evil event on the part of Image, but anyone who's looked into unions and how they're often formed, this is usually the way it goes down. Occasionally, companies will certainly say, you know what, yeah, you're right, we want to be open, we don't want to go through this fuss, and they'll accept the union, what they say voluntarily. But it's not like, when they say voluntarily, it's not like voluntarily or by force. There's a number of pieces in between, and most lawyers of almost any company, particularly companies that have a lot of third-party contracts, and let's face it, that's almost all of what Image has. I mean, Image, the way it's structured, made this part almost inevitable. They hunkered down, they waited for the vote. And then the union taking what I would just describe as an unnecessarily aggressive position with all of this, was very public on Twitter, posted all these notes about what was going on, and definitely portrayed it as a us versus them from the beginning. It was a very strange process to see it roll out, and it was inevitable that it would get here. So where is here? The union was ratified, and now the union has filed a claim against Image Comics with the U.S. government's National Labor Relations Board. The legal filing claims that Image Comics is engaged in unfair labor practices and that Image Comics retaliated against union bargaining members. One of the examples of this was that entire taking the names out of the credits on a book, and there's some other things. We're about to get to it, but that Image basically disseminated misinformation. Now, this claim again is not a unusual one for many unions forming inside of companies, and I really want to stress this in this video, because there will be people who are pro-union, people who are anti-union in the comments, and all your opinions are fine, but let's try and separate what is normal and what is more unusual. And the reality is, a union forming in the way that this one formed, and immediately saying that the company disseminated misinformation happens. I don't want to say. I mean, I don't know. I was looking at some sites earlier. 75% of the time, it's very common. Why it's so common is because it's relatively easy to prove. It doesn't require a heavy burden, and you can take conversations, you can take emails, you can take very casual things. It's one reason why, by the way, lawyers often recommend to companies not to just voluntarily approve the union and to let the legal system play out and to say nothing, because if you say anything, you wind up here. So this is kind of where it's all gone. So it is many documents have been posted, and this has all been an official complaint. So where does it go? Where does it go from here? Well, this complaint will play out. It'll be evaluated. There will be some when a complaint is filed, it's not like the company gets itself immediately into legal trouble. It's not like that. But definitely, if the relations board finds mispractice. So let me back up a second. Generally speaking, when these things are filed this way, the most common outcome is that an investigation takes place. The company has to further lawyer up. Lawyers make a lot of money on all sides, by the way. And the company, one of the outcomes, it's why several of the labor unions recommend this course of action, is that it forces the companies to, you know, for lack of better words, start taking this more seriously, start documenting more. It kind of forces them to acknowledge things in a more serious way. And it feels like that's a little bit of where this is going. The claim that came out on Twitter, and unfortunately, the confusing part about all this is how much of this is all based around kind of Twitter innuendo. If that's the case, that's somewhat bad news for the union, because there have been a number of rulings that state that, tweets and other things don't really meet the threshold of what a lot of the claims are. So, we'll see where that all goes. But one of the claims, and we covered in a video, was that Jim Valentino got the names removed from one of the books. Pretty sure that's what's driving at least some of this. If that is the case, and that's an example of it, it serves as kind of a shot across the bow, where the company isn't necessarily penalized. It's not one of those things where a fine is levied or anything like that, but it serves as a warning to say, hey, you're going to have to take this more seriously. You are going to have to, you're going to have to again, lawyer up. You're going to have to start documenting what you do. When you engage in conversations, you're going to have to do it in a really formalized way. That's kind of the inevitable result of all this. And if I'm predicting the future, that's where all of this is going. You're going to get an Image Comics that is going to get much, much more conservative about how they're communicating, the structure in which they're doing it, what's said to who, what's written down. All that kind of stuff is going to get extremely formal. Image is going to spend a lot more money on lawyers. They have, I want to say dubious paperwork, because that's not being fair to Image, but several of their documentation, from what I've seen, some people forward me contracts from time to time. Probably shouldn't do that in this new world, but generally speaking, a lot of this falls into the camp of you're going to have to be a lot more formal than you've been in the past. Here's where it gets interesting. Should comic companies, should comic publishers be that formal? Like, how formal should they be? And are they really wired to be formal? One of the interesting parts where I feel like the end result of all this stuff is that everybody loses. And what I mean by that is a lot of the workers at Image, the people who are in this union, probably enjoy, appreciate, want a more relaxed business culture. They probably do not want, massive formality. They probably want more, that things to be casual, like they've been. And unfortunately, all these actions are going to push them to make, hiring is going to get a lot more clamped down. The one thing that happens so often in comics is that people bring their friends into positions. It's very much a network kind of basis. When unions exist in big companies, they can provide some structure, and you don't feel that overbearing bureaucracy come on to you. When unions are formed in small companies like this one, and we're talking about a union of less, 12 or so people that were really driving it, that bureaucracy is going to feel really heavy on those shoulders. So, the company, if they're going to clamp down on policies, if they're going to suddenly go out and get a bunch of lawyers to kind of tell them how hiring should take place, how firing should take place, how reviews should take place, how all of these kinds of things, it's kind of a monkey's paw, be careful what you wish for situation. If you think back to a lot of their demands, if you read kind of their list of things they want, they're wanting kind of more equitable treatment, they're wanting reviews and transparency, and they're wanting a lot of things that sound great, but if taken to extremes, and when you get lawyers involved and you really formalize the whole process, they do get taken to extremes. I'll be curious to see how many of these things work out the way they want. More likely, what's going to happen is the entire process is going to get extremely restrictive. The other part to this is a relatively small comic publisher really financially, are they spitting off enough profit? Are they really in a position where they can, be this restrictive and still operate? If you're a smaller comic publisher, if you're, Boom or IDW or Valiant or some of those people, do you look at all this and go, well, they're going to be hamstrung for the next several years by a bunch of regulations and very odd rules that are happening internally? Now's our chance to go faster, get some money, put some books out quicker, make more lucrative deals for creators that may be worried about this stuff. As much as creators were applauding and doing the Yas Queen kind of whole response to this union forming, a decent amount of creators, I know, are mailing each other and mailing me personally, saying, there's no way I'm doing a book at Image now. There's no way. Now, these creators are not the names you'd think of people who are, it's not like Warren Ellis is mailing me going, I'm not going to they're going to censor my book. I'm not doing one. No, no. These are creators who do not have any, quote unquote, dirt on them. People who are, they don't have any drama or any controversy attached to it. They don't want to step into any of that. And while the union might work out for some people and ultimately might be a good thing, a lot of comic creators who are living on a very thin margin and just want to get their books out, they don't want to put up with that. And so what happens when you start to see some talent basically go, Dark Horse is offering me a similar deal. Yeah, and they have a media partner behind them now. Screw it. I'm just going to go there. I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to take the risk that my book gets kind of sabotaged at the last minute. I don't want to take the risk that I'm working with somebody in marketing and then the person goes on strike and I get no advertising for this thing that I'm footing my own bill on. I mean, because the Image deal, you have to bring your own money to the table. It's not like you're just paid all up front and it's happy days. You can lose money on an Image deal. Many people have. So all of these kinds of things, this uncertainty, it's not great. Now, granted, there will be some other creators who are like, I'm going to put my project at Image, and guaranteed there will be a lot of pressure from members of the union to say, you support us, right? Jeff Lemire, you support us, right? You guys are going to, to help, right? You're going to see a lot of those kinds of messages go out to people where they're going to put a lot of pressure on comic creators to do projects under the rules of this union. But for comic creators who can't afford to miss, so to speak, can't afford to lose, they're going to go and look for just whatever path of least resistance they can find. Unfortunately, that to me is the most likely outcome here in all this. So the news today, relatively quickly, I mean, here's the other part where the optics of this don't look great for the union. If I'm a strategy guy and I'm saying, hey, here's the way you play this to maximize the amount of power that you achieve out of all this, I would not have filed a complaint with the labor with the board. I would not have done this so quickly. They have moved from getting the union approved to filing a formal complaint that's going to chew up now a lot of legal activity in a remarkably short amount of time, less than a month. The message that sends to the market is that this is an antagonistic union. This is a group that's going to, basically fight. And by the way, if you're on the side of that union, you're great. You're like, yeah, look, they're fighting for their rights. There's some serious problems in Image, and they're gonna, this wasn't just for show. So you may be in favor of all these actions. However, everything sends a message. And in this case, the message that it sends is this is a union that's gonna, not gonna sit by. And so if you as a creator have any concerns about how that's going to shake out for you, the fears are going to be realized. This is like there are creators, there are writers who work in an Image who are going, I hope this doesn't disrupt what I do. I hope this doesn't disrupt book plans that I have. Oh, they're going to be very, very aggressive. Okay, I wonder if I have other options. And again, if any of these other comic companies say, yeah, we'll take you, that's another option right there. And you will see people float over there very quickly. That's the worry here. So again, please, if you've listened to enough of my videos, this is another example of, I can give you my personal opinion. I will right at the end. Why the hell not? I'll give you my own, here's what I would do personally. This is game theory. I'm telling you how it will play out. This is the moves that have been made are going to generate these reactions, and we'll see how it all happens. So let me know what you think of all that in the comments below. Interested to hear what's this development? What does this say to you? So please do so. Now, okay, that's the video. That's the information. That's what we're currently working with. Those are the logical next steps as I see them of what comes next. So now, for what it's worth, here's my own personal opinion in all this. Yeah, I think this is fucking stupid. I think this is stupid for a lot of the people involved. I think this was probably the most painful, frustrating way to make change. I've heard enough stories of what Eric Stevenson gets up to, what some of the other leadership in that company gets up to, about some of the business practices, some of the what's the best way to put it, half-assed, clumsy, dumb fuck ways that business gets done there. Yeah, I've heard those stories, a lot of stories. There is definitely a sliding scale of how people get treated. Absolutely, many, 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 many stories from that company. If we're looking for a solve, like how do things get actively better? How do we move from, a company where there's some kooky shit that goes on to a company where, it feels like a better place to work? Doing it this way feels like just smashing the pedal down on drama. I am not rabidly anti-union. I think that unions had a major impact in helping companies out and helping workers' rights. I think that unions have a very political bend now to them, so your politics are probably going to dictate if you like unions or not. But unions have done a lot of good in the past. I think that in 2022, I think that that things have changed quite a bit, and I don't think unions are as helpful today. And I certainly think for situations like this one, unions make a whole lot of sense for anyone involved. I think it was going to drain a lot of the people who are joining the union. I mean, more power to them, but it's going to cost some money I don't know that they have. And I think that there are easy ways that the companies can duck it and dodge it. And I think you're about to see those play out over the next year. I don't think, but most frustrating in all this is I don't know that this solves anything. I don't know that this actively makes anything better. All that will happen is that a lot of money is going to get spent on lawyers and on people documenting processes and putting things up. And for Image, a company that doesn't own a lot, I mean, they publish a lot, but creators own their work. It is incredibly easy for creators to just go down the street and go to someone else. And why wouldn't they? If I'm a creator, hell yes, I would not be working at all with Image at this moment. It would be insane to. I think that you're basically saying, hey, let me work on this project and put a bunch of my own money and time into it, and then just throw it out into the wind, and here's hoping that it doesn't bite me in the ass through all these things that are completely outside of my control. From a risk analysis perspective, it's crazy. I would never do it myself. I think that a lot of people, when they look over the demands, they all focus on that last one, or the union wants to have overruling power so they don't work with sexist, homophobe, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And okay, great. So it's the Cameron Stewart Warren Ellis clause. That's what you basically put in there. Super. The problem is, as I've discussed in other videos, you're going to create a committee to vote on who gets to get published at Image. Once again, if you're a creator, why would you subject yourself to that shit? Why? Image as a company, forget the union for a moment. As a company, Image does not have they don't have business relationships into comic shops and bookstores that others do not have. Image is a bigger company than Boom because it's attracted, bigger name creators who have brought big titles to them that have made money. But if you're Robert Kirkman, for example, and you're sitting on the Hasbro license and you're trying to build up a bunch of things to continue your media empire, why would you do anything through Image? Again, you'd be nuts. Even if you are sympathetic to the union, even if you're sympathetic to the demands that these guys have, I wouldn't do it. You're trying to create a fledgling business that ultimately has a destination point of putting content out on Amazon. Like, this would be nuts. I feel like this entire process of everything that goes on is going to be a intelligence test as to the people who keep working with image bluntly. And I'm pissing off people, I know, saying that, but look, if you're willing to subject yourself to completely loose, random rules that could have a huge impact on your bottom line and what you make and what you do, you're nuts, and you deserve everything that's coming to you. I mean, given that, and this again, where Image as a company doesn't have leverage to put up with this nonsense. You could go to Boom, you could go to IDW, you could go to hell, you could go to Aftershock, and you could get a your book out with a deal. I mean, look, who's some big names over there? I mean, if you're James Tinian, if you're Rick Remender, like, and you're putting books out in Image, why would you not like just go down the street to a small publisher, a really small publisher? Why wouldn't you go to Black Mask Studios and go, hey, I'm Rick Remender. I move, a very predictable amount of units with the books that I have. I want to negotiate a good deal where I'm given some special treatment because I'm a big name and I'm going to push a bunch of business at you, and we're going to raise your market share from 2 to 6%, whatever it happens to be. Treat me well. Yeah, there's a dozen comic publishers that would do that deal, and you'd be fine. Um, I mean, that's that's the world we're playing in. So I think this is a lot of craziness. I hope it works out for everybody. I mean, if we go back to the origin point, and again, I want to stress because people are forgetting this bit. There's some pretty dirty stories out there about image treatment of some of the workers and what some people are up to. There are absolutely some goofy stories out there. It is not just like a bunch of entitled millennials got together and said, "Wouldn't it be fun to have a union?" I mean, maybe it was a little bit that, but there's some smoke. Where there's some smoke, which indicates that there is some fire here. I look at this and I go, you know what? I'd like some of those stories I've heard pretty awful. I would love it if those were solved. I would love it if those situations did not happen, because that sucks. I would love for some of this dirty laundry to be stamped out. That would be wonderful. This isn't going to do it. That's the thing. I think this, this just puts pressure to. It's just so much money is going to get wasted on attorneys now. So much. And it's a golden opportunity for a lot of these small comic publishers to just steal every piece of value Image has. So we'll see how it plays out. I don't know. Well, good luck. I know. I'm now going to get accused of anti-union. You hate people, protect abusers. No, actually, to the contrary, I would like the abusers to actually get caught and punished for it. I don't think this process does that. That's my point. Thanks for listening.